Hey everyone, welcome to Realization Hub. My name is Michelle Corazaldino, and I'm an intuitive counselor, energy healer, and channeler who loves to bridge the gap between the unseen world of spirit, consciousness, energy, and intuition so that you can apply it to your everyday human experience. I offer personal sessions, group sessions, and classes so that you can heal, gain clarity, and empower yourself through embodied enlightenment. And today's video is it's an energy update for February 2022. In this video, I'm going to go over the key energy dynamics for mass consciousness, those of you going through your awakening, and those of you going through your embodied enlightenment. So if you like these videos, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's get started with mass consciousness in February 2022. I first want to say how much I missed doing an energy update for January. Instead of doing an update, I did a pick a card reading for the year 2022, and it was a lot of fun, but I definitely missed doing the energy update. So I did look at the energy of January. I want to do a little bit of a recap about that because in January, there was like this huge wind of energy redirecting mass consciousness in a new direction. And it was very intense for some people. Actually, for most people, I was noticing on an individual basis, everyone was experiencing it differently, but the energy was very intense, especially the first few weeks of January for a lot of people. Some people experienced this rerouting or this change in direction as something kind of outside of themselves that was destructive, that just, ended something abruptly in their lives or just deconstructed something, all of a sudden in their lives. And to them, they may have felt victimized to that experience or as if it was something that happened outside of their control. And some of them felt, really disrupted and by that experience, almost as if it was a very negative experience for them. Other people went through more of a type of like cleansing, you could say, where they were just going through a lot of their own energy dynamics that were keeping them stuck or keeping them in the same direction that they were going in. Maybe they were, kind of bringing up their own stuff around how they were resisting this new direction, how they were judging it, how they were not really moving forward towards it. And for these people, they may not have experienced a lot of drama in their lives in January, but they did feel a lot of energetic disruption because a lot was kind of popping and clearing and kind of getting out of the way so that this redirection could happen in their own lives. And then there's some people out there in mass consciousness that already had a sense of this new direction that was calling them. And they had been, let's say, showing up for that and kind of doing their own personal work in kind of clearing out their own lives and preparing for this new change kind of coming in their life or this new direction coming in their life. So for those people that were kind of already there, already kind of ready for it, kind of ripe for the new direction, they experienced what I would say would be more of those breakthrough moments where after a long time of really going through lots of energetic challenges and, trying to get something to change or shift in their life, suddenly they experienced that shift or that change or that breakthrough in their life in January. And for them, even though it was really intense and probably just as triggering, it was more of let's say a positive experience versus like a negative experience that someone else may have had if they weren't ready for the change, if they just kind of let the change happen to them. So that was what I was seeing for January, like this big kind of like almost like wind of energy just kind of taking mass consciousness in a new direction. And again, everyone experienced that differently, but I think we can all agree collectively that January was pretty intense energetically, even if not a lot was going on maybe in the news, or maybe there was a lot going on in the news, but energetically, I'm talking about the energy. It was very intense for some people, many people. Okay, so looking at the energy in February 2022 for mass consciousness, I was seeing this image of a woman looking in the mirror, and it looked like she had really been through a lot. A lot of challenges, a lot of disruptions. She looked kind of rough, and she was looking at that mirror, staring at herself, doing some reflection, and then she takes her lipstick and she writes this message to herself. And it seemed like this feeling of like deep inner love, a deep inner choice, as a way of loving herself, or some type of empowerment, coming to a type of empowerment. So when I apply this image to mass consciousness, what I sense is kind of the obvious energy that I see is reflection. I do see a type of reflection going on in February for mass consciousness. However, there's also this sense of mass consciousness going through a lot of challenges and going through a lot of scenarios that are unhealthy, that aren't working for them, that are bothering them. And I see where there's this desire or this anger or even this passion to change something in their own lives. And so I see kind of like this profession of deep self-love to themselves in February, where they are just, deciding something inside of themselves. Like, I'm no longer going to tolerate this, or I'm no longer going to do this anymore, or I'm going to commit to this so I can have this. It seemed like mass consciousness was kind of like taking their power back and deciding on something that they wanted to create in their lives. And a part of that decision was deciding what they were going to let go of, what wasn't working, the boundaries that they were going to make with what was no longer working for them, and kind of a redirection into what is calling them, what is kind of in their heart, what they do want, what they do deserve, So it reminds me of like one of those rom-com movies, where like a female is just in a bad relationship or working in a bad job, or, something's like just, she's been through a lot, and then she suddenly, has like this insight into herself or into her life. And she finally realizes, like, I got to end this and I got to start this, and I'm going to, do this for me. I'm going to write it on the mirror, and love myself. It kind of reminds me of that deep love. We can shower ourselves with gifts and treat ourselves, with cake and ice cream and, fun distractions and entertainment and bubble baths. And that can be like a lovely way to love ourselves. And then we have the type of self-love that's more like, everyday maintenance, where we're making sure we're drinking enough water and we're eating right, we're sleeping right, we're exercising. And that's a different kind of self-love, where we're just like maintaining our balance and our health and our energy, And then there's that deep love that not a lot of people actually embody or embrace. And that is, kind of the stepping outside of the comfort zone, discovering what your needs are, expressing your needs, making boundaries, changing your life, going back to school, committing to yourself, doing the things that might be uncomfortable, but are totally worth it. Because when you go through that discomfort, it might be triggering, it might be intense, but it's totally worth it. Because when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did this, or said this, or changed this, because this is me loving me when I do this. It's real love. It's a deep love, and you're willing to go through the discomfort or the intensity so that you can have the experience that you want and deserve. And so that's the feeling I get from mass consciousness in February. And when I look at it on a practical level for the human experience, I see where it might feel like mass consciousness is staring at the chains, kind of around the wrist. Like, they have this creative energy, they have this creative potential, they want to change their life in some way, and they're feeling restricted. And so I do think it might be common in February to feel some anger in the air, or some, energetic intensity or charge, or just a sense of passion to change something, as well as that deep self-love coming to the surface for a lot of people, helping them kind of take their power take their power back, make a change in their life, commit to themselves in a deeper way. So, the practical experience for humans in February might be a feeling of like just really deciding you're going to break those chains in your life that are holding you back from creating what you really want to create. So, picking that up from mass consciousness. Now, I want to pick some cards just, for fun to see if there's any other extra information, we want to learn about in February. So, pulling out this deck first, the Light Seers Tarot, just going to pick a card, and I'm just going to pick a card to help clarify anything that mass consciousness is going through, especially this reflective energy that I was picking up on. All right, we've got the 10 of Wands, which is reversed. It's an image of a girl with like an ox or a bull and carrying a really big load. And you can see she's been walking for a long time on this road, carrying a lot. She's starting to kind of turn a corner here. And this was reversed. And then we have the Chariot. Beautiful image. You can see kind of the fast energy here, where this chariot is going really fast. And there's, this movement to this card, but there's also like decisions to make, like this white energy and this dark energy. And there's different ways you could go on this. But your decision will take you very quickly someplace in this card. So yeah, mass consciousness. I mean, I was definitely picking up on that burden energy. When I was seeing that clairvoyant image of mass consciousness, it looked like the female in the image was going through so much. Like she had been through a lot of challenges in that image. So I can definitely say that this is mass consciousness and kind of where they're coming from, where they just have non-stop challenges and they're carrying way too much on their shoulders. Too many responsibilities, too many burdens, just that heaviness, right? And being stuck in that. And this is kind of that energy of that decision feeling that I was picking up on, where this decision starts to change the direction of life. It starts to kind of swiftly bring mass consciousness in a new direction. It gets, a different choices being made. And I was picking up on that energy of self-love, where the choice for mass consciousness was coming from a deeper sense of self-love, not just the creature comforts of, I just wish everything was easy or better or, just back to normal. But, after that deep reflection, mass consciousness kind of saying, what would really be nice if we just kind of changed something in a deeper way, So I do see this energy of change kind of coming through the Chariot card. This is like a major energy, So this is kind of the major energy showing up in February. When I look at the clairvoyant image for this card, I'm seeing that image of like our bigger selves, like coming into a situation and taking us to a new situation. So we have our like human selves that are experiencing our everyday life, and we make decisions all day long, when we wake up, what food we're eating, our time, our schedules, our everyday daily life. And then we've got like our wisdom or our, everyone has different ways of identifying this part of themselves. So I'm just gonna like kind of list out a few examples so that you can hopefully resonate with what I'm saying. But some people will call this the universe. Some people will call it their higher self. Some people will call it God. Some people will call it their master self, or their wisdom self. Everyone has these different kind of names for their higher power, or for something beyond their human self that is directing their lives. And this is kind of the energy that I pick up about the Chariot in this reading, is that there's something outside of the human. There's something much bigger than the human that is coming in on February and kind of taking us into a new direction. And it is a self-loving direction. It might throw us out of our comfort zone. It might be intense. It might be fast. But it seems like it's redirecting us, to someplace, to a change, and that change is, in fact, a loving change. So I want to pull some more cards. I'm actually going to pull one of these Moonology cards. Your hard work is paying off. It says new moon in Capricorn. So if you are someone that tracks the moon cycles, you can check out when the new moon in Capricorn is. I usually don't read the cards that way though. I usually kind of read more of like the essence of the card, the essence of what a new moon in Capricorn is. So it could be literal, or the information in this card is happening around that time. But I usually just kind of read it as the essence of the card, not the literal version of the card. So your hard work is paying off. This kind of brings me to this image here where there's been so many responsibilities, maybe a little too many responsibilities, or too much work, too many things to carry, right? But we've all been resilient. Mass consciousness has been very resilient. You can see it like in this energy of the ox or the bull that's carrying all of this. There's a lot of resilience in mass consciousness. So I see where, something is paying off. Something that maybe the thing that is about to change, that's about to take mass consciousness in a new direction on an individual level, has been something that we've been working on for a while. I'm going to look at a clairvoyant image for this. Yeah, I see the image of like a spiral. So that tells me that this is something we've been working on over and over and over and over again. And it's coming to a point where we're nearing its completion. And we finally get to have the results of it taking us into a new direction. I'm going to pull some more cards here. I'm going to see if there's any messages about the self-love, or some of the creative blockages that are about to be broken. I'm going to pull from this deck, the Goddess Power Oracle. This one came out. Wisdom. Yes. So like I was saying, wisdom. Like I was saying, this Chariot card and that new direction, or the new change that's happening, seems like it could happen pretty quickly, but it's coming from your wisdom. This is just kind of a reassurance or a validation or a confirmation that, this isn't necessarily the choice that your human self is making. Your human self may be aware of it to some degree, may be very conscious of it, but really the choice is coming from your wisdom. It's coming from this kind of bigger version of you it comes from all your experiences, not just the experience you're having in this lifetime, but it comes from all of your experiences, from all your lifetimes, from every experience you've ever had. This change or this choice It's coming through. There's something, I'm hearing something that I need to check out one of the descriptions for this card in particular. I feel like there's like a little message in this book that wants to be heard. So the Chariot. Victory, speed and action, determination, harnessing and uniting opposing energies. Success, travel, willpower, and control. And the affirmation for this card is, I choose who I'm becoming and I run toward it with conviction and consistent motion. Oh my gosh, that is exactly what I was picking up in that image. It's like there's so much reflection happening in February, and it's almost like mass consciousness is going to make a choice about who they're going to become, and then start moving in that direction. Awesome. One more card for mass consciousness. This one says deep cellular healing, physical and emotional healing, and this one says loosen your grip, coping mechanisms, density, addiction, let God in. Yeah. I definitely sense in this card, like, there are some bad, I don't want to say bad, but there has been some things that have not been serving us in mass consciousness that they've been hanging on to, because it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't know if you've ever had an addiction before, whether it's to sugar or coffee or drugs or alcohol or people, whatever your addiction was. If you've ever broken addiction, it can be like, a little bit tricky to break an addiction. You can't judge yourself when you fall back into it. But there's an attachment to it. There's a strong attachment to whatever it is, and it's usually there to help cope with some type of pain. And so I see like mass consciousness kind of having to change something, like they're breaking addictions. It's something that has maybe been ingrained in us, like old habits or bad habits that have become very normalized in mass consciousness. And some of these habits or addictions or attachments or patterns in mass consciousness are going to be breaking, because mass consciousness is kind of coming to that reflection that, okay, these are not serving us anymore. We've outgrown this. We can have more than this, right? And then here in this card, deep cellular healing, I feel like, well, they go hand in hand. They both, popped out together. But in this deep cellular healing, mass consciousness is looking for more balance. I feel like this is confirming the depth of which this is happening in mass consciousness. It's not just like this superficial choice about our lives or about the direction we're moving in. It's not a superficial thing. It's a very deep thing. And it heals us, like this direction that's changing for mass consciousness. It brings us more balance, and both emotionally and physically, and it heals us. It's not something to be scared about. It's not something to resist. It's it's going to serve us. It's going to serve mass consciousness. So it's like a rebalancing going on in mass consciousness, this new direction that mass consciousness takes. So beautiful. All right, guys, so that is my update for mass consciousness in February 2022. Let's go ahead and get started with those of you going through your awakening. Hello to those of you going through your awakening. Thank you for watching. In February 2022, I was seeing this image of you standing in front of a table, and there was like this big ball of energy that looked kind of dark, and it was all twisted and tangled up, almost like a big ball of energy yarn or a big kind of mess kind of in front of you. And you were looking at it, and you started laughing at it. And to me, you know, when I was tapping into that image of those of you going through your awakening, I do see that February is a month where you might be bringing a lot more of your amusement to your challenges, a lot more amusement to unsolvable things, a lot more amusement to entanglements and things that aren't working, things that are things that are challenging or hard to work out. I see you bringing a lot more of your laughter to it, your humor, your amusement. And what it's showing me is like this wisdom starting to come through to you in February 2022, where this kind of levity, this lightness, this humor, this amusement really starts to give you a lot of distance with some of this messy, challenging situation you might be going through. I'm looking at that situation and I kind of have to giggle at it because it reminds me of if someone, you know, had their own like hairball and they gave it to you and you were trying to untangle their hairball, you know, and you're sitting there looking at it, you know, getting annoyed, getting angry, getting, you know, frustrated, you know, getting freaked out, whatever, trying to untangle this hairball. And it's almost like in February, you suddenly look at it and you're like, why am I doing this? This isn't even mine. This is not my thing to untangle. This belongs to someone else. And you start laughing at it. So I feel like in February, you become aware of how a situation is not yours. Like the energetic situation isn't your problem to solve. It's not something for you to untangle or fix or remedy. It's not something for you to really give a lot of your attention to. In fact, it may have been quite a distraction. And so I see in February where you kind of start to get to some distance from it and you start to laugh at it and you start to go a lot more neutral to it. And in a way, I see you kind of throwing up your hands and being like, you know what? This isn't for me to figure out. It's not mine. It belongs to someone else. So I'm going to let that other person or that other group or, you know, that situation be taken care of by, you know, someone else because it's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. It's a distraction. It's kind of taking up my attention when I really have to focus on something else. So I do see the wisdom in that. You know, there's something that maybe you've been, you know, maybe that's been kind of drawing up your attention. Maybe an entanglement or a messy situation or just something that feels frustrating and hard to figure out or something like a problem that just feels unfixable in your life. I see in February where you start to get some levity, you get some humor, you get some amusement. That helps you get some distance from it so that you can kind of let it go and realize like, that's not for me to figure out. It's not my problem to solve because there's something else waiting for you. Outside of that distraction that is actually for you to give your attention to. Maybe your dreams, maybe something within you, maybe something else. But it looks like in February, you're kind of coming out of a distraction in a funny way. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some cards for you in February and see if we can get any more information. And I'm going to pull from this deck, the Light Seers Tarot. Maybe I'll get some clarity about the messy situation you're looking at or the energetic knot that is taking up your attention, something that feels kind of unsolvable or like a big problem that you've been staring at for a while.
they were both reversed. So I feel like the stuckness, or not just the stuckness, the stagnancy in something that you've been going through, but you get you have the potential of turning them upright, which is awesome because you have the King of Pentacles and you have this Hierophant card. I think I'm saying that right. Hierophant? Hierophant. Yeah. So this is representing you going through your awakening. The King of Pentacles has a very abundant energy to it. Think of someone who has everything that they need. They have the community, the family, the friends, the wealth, the house. They have everything. They've built up to it. They've done the hard work to get there. They've built up to it, and now they have all of this stuff, or all of these, all of this abundance that they can access and that they can be generous with to everyone else. So this represents you going through your awakening, except it is, reversed. So when I look at the energy of this card in reversed and what it means for you going through your awakening, I see the image of a Hershey kiss, which is like, like a little chocolate treat that people have. It's really usually like a cheap, little chocolate. So, immediately I get that essence of being cheap, that essence of being like, like a quick way of satisfying something. So I sense that you have this potential to really work hard at something and develop something and build something so that you are tapped into some type of abundance, your abundance that's always there. But, I feel like you've cut yourself off from your own abundance by being a little cheap, or maybe having some limits with what you value. Like maybe your values have been kind of cut short, or you've only been going for like the easy solution, or just the quick solution, or the cheap solution, or things like that. Maybe you've been kind of struggling with that, not really going into those real abundant states. Maybe not willing to do the work, maybe not willing to, it reminds me of the difference between like a Band-Aid, putting a Band-Aid over something versus like really healing something, and this is about like, the material world. It's about your abundance, your wealth, all the things you have, all the things you build, all the things you work for, and you have this potential of being in your full abundance, with all of that. But you're showing up in February a little bit like working through the stagnancy of this potential. Going for the quick solution, the easy solution. It's like choosing, sugar, like it's like the difference between like eating like a juicy chocolate gourmet cake versus like a little candy you can buy at the store. That's what I feel about this card. It's like you could be this awesome, juicy, gourmet chocolate cake, but you've been going for the little piece of candy at the store, So I see the potential of you going through some energy dynamics to become this, to really bring that sense of quality into your life and depth, and really build something from a strong foundation. And, this card here was reversed as well. And one of the first things that comes to me when I, get this card is like spiritual ascension, or like a spiritual teacher, There's this guy who's, looks like he's opening up to his enlightenment. And there's this staircase, there's this ascension up to this bright light, this big potential up here. This was reversed. So when I look at the energy of this card in reversed, clairvoyantly, it's like having curtains over a window. Like the opportunity is there, but it keeps getting covered up or shaded. It's not that you're not aware of an opportunity necessarily. It's just being covered up. It's just being suppressed. Something's being suppressed or hidden, in your energy. And, when you turn this card around upright, it's like pulling back the curtains and actually, seeing out the window, seeing the opportunity. And again, we see this guy laughing in this image. He's laughing, right? And that's what I was noticing about you in February. You were laughing, so you're very much like this guy. You got to start laughing about your problems, laughing about the energy patterns, the issues that you have, the challenges, the problems that you can't seem to solve. Try laughing at them. Try to get some neutrality to it. Try to get some distance from it. Try to lighten it up. Bring some humor to it so it's not a big, serious issue. Because I'll tell you one thing. Money, especially if you're looking at issues with money or abundance, money is very, if you tune into the energy of money, it's very light. It's very playful. And if you're handling it from a serious energy, I'm not sure how, it might make it difficult to really, really tap into all your abundance when it's so serious and it's so heavy. So I see like where you need to lighten things up, keep it light, keep it playful. Because what I'm picking up about you is you have a dream or a desire that that requires you to, shed some heaviness, that requires you to lighten it up, that requires you to kind of come into like a higher vibration or more expanded state, and a lot of times humor allows us to do that. It brightens us up. It lightens us up. When you're in a lot of seriousness or resistance or fear, it's very heavy. And, what you want to attract, what you want to create, what you want to build in your life, actually requires that you kind of ascend, you go through a type of energetic ascension where you're brightening up your energy, you're expanding your energy, you're taking it to another level. And it looks like you've had, instead of like doing that, you've just been kind of staring at your problems and getting very energetically constipated about it. And really, this message is coming through in February of like, try laughing at these things. Try to lighten it up, change your energy, and don't be afraid to build something, to put in the work so that you can ascend, get brighter, and actually have what you desire. So that's kind of the energy of like the entangled mess. I'm going to pull a card for just any extra information. All right. We get this card from the Master's deck, Ascended Master's deck. And And it's artistic expression, Paul the Venetian. So when I'm kind of tuning into this card, to see what its message is for you, it reminds me of like staring at a blank canvas and, just constantly like wanting to paint something on that canvas, but like not knowing even where to start, And the message coming through this card is just start. Just get it started. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't know how it's going to happen, how it's going to work, how you're going to do it. Just get started. Just start. Just put that brush on the canvas and start painting something. Anything. Just start something, right? So this is applying to your spiritual journey. This might be applying to your abundance or your wealth or something you want to build. Is just start is the message coming through. Just start. You're creative. You have everything you need. You just need to get started. You just need to start the momentum and things start to come together as the energy builds. Okay. A lot of times humans, our human self, this is kind of like a little wisdom coming through, but a lot of times our human self wants things to happen for us. And we want to know how it's going to all happen before we get started. We want it all figured out before we get started. But actually, spiritually, it doesn't work like that, usually. We have to make a choice. We have to make a decision. We have to get something started. And eventually the energy starts to build around that decision, around that action, around that choice, around that pathway, around that creative energy. And, eventually it does become this. So whatever you're percolating about, whatever you've been considering starting or doing, it does look like it leads you to more enlightenment. It does look like it leads you to more of your abundance and wealth. It looks like you can build something really awesome, pursuing it. So get started. All right. Thank you for those of you watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm going to go ahead and get started with those of you going through your embodied enlightenment. Hello to those of you going through your embodied enlightenment. This is going to be your energy update for February 2022. When I was checking out the energy of February clairvoyantly for you, I saw this image of you kind of going really fast, kind of down this like energetic kind of funnel. And then when you get spit out at the other end, it's like a new version of you. And so I was really picking up on this energy that you'd be going through lots of fast cycles of growth and expansion. And during that process, be kind of stripping away old things that reinforce an old identity. And then, by the end of that kind of growth cycle, be kind of showing up and presenting yourself in a new way, almost like you're coming into a new version of yourself or a new identity or, just a new you. When I was tuning into all this fast growth for you, I, could see that on one end of it or in one layer of it, that it's just seems like fun and like you're discovering a new part of yourself or a new version of yourself. On the other end, I could sense that maybe it was a little bit vulnerable, maybe a little bit bittersweet because, things are changing. It's like as you come into this new version of yourself, your relationship dynamics are changing. The way you live is changing. Things kind of reorient and adjust and realign to this new version of you. So it might be a little bit like a bittersweet feeling of kind of letting the old kind of drain away while the new starts to come more into your life, the new version of you. And it kind of remind me if of like a scenario if you like went on vacation and you planned a vacation with like a bunch of people, and then you're ready to go on vacation, and at the last minute like everyone cancels and it's just you going to the hotel and all these places that you've never seen all on your own. There's something about it where it's like, well, it wasn't what you expected, but it's still pretty awesome, and you still have that potential of having fun and discovering the new kind of version of you, the new landscape of you. But it's not exactly something where you might be taking other people with you at this moment. It's I don't see a lot of people involved in it right now. You're kind of doing it on your own right now, and so there's less of that feeling of maybe connection with others in February, because you're going through this kind of fast cyclic kind of release of some old versions of you and coming back into a new version of you. So I want to pick some cards to help clarify the energy for you in 2022. I'm going to go ahead and pick some cards from this deck. Let's see. It's an archetype deck. All right, going to start shuffling these cards. And first thing I want to clarify for you guys is kind of the old identity that you might be shedding. Oh, looks like a couple cards came out on that one. One is the King, and one is the Starborn. I think the King is, immediately what I'm picking up about it is that there's like a very masculine side to you that is a very masculine identity that is being transmuted, or you're expanding beyond it, or maybe you're letting it go. I'm actually picking up kind of an intense image when I tune into this card, and it's this image of like a king and his wife kind of ultimately has to submit to the king. And I really feel like a strong sense of like patriarchy with this card for this particular reading, and just kind of like the imbalance here where like where like the power is given away to the masculine side. The feminine is disempowered. The feminine doesn't get to make a choice. The feminine has to obey. Or, the masculine kind of takes advantage of situations, or where the masculine is just getting his way at any cost. And so this is kind of an identity I see being stripped from your energy in February. There is like an overall essence in February where like the feminine side of the collective consciousness or mass consciousness is kind of taking their power back and, empowering the feminine side. So it would, I guess, make sense to me to see that a part of the identities that are kind of being stripped away in embodied enlightenment, for those of you going through embodied enlightenment, would be associated with really dominant kind of masculine sides that don't allow the feminine side to show up equally in her power. This is the other card that came out, the Starborn. There's like an egg that's cracking, lots of little different colors. This card, has a lot of this essence of like fate and destiny, and where something can begin and it eventually has this destiny or this fate of becoming something very grand. It really reminds me of like, the story of Jesus, where there's this immaculate conception and he's born, and people travel to go visit the baby, and they already see Jesus as this, holy man. And then there's the story of Jesus, as an adult, teaching and kind of revolutionizing the religion, and then of course eventually coming to this crucifixion moment. But when I look at the energy of this card, that's what the essence of this card reminds me of, or like something from the very beginning has this type of potential to be kind of embodied, or this potential to this potential to be embodied. I'll leave it at that. So when I'm looking at the clairvoyant image of this card, I'm seeing, I'm feeling where, like, those of you going through your embodied enlightenment might have these big ideas or potentials or dreams that you have tapped into a long time ago. And I get the sense that, there is this version of you that is really exhausted by it. The part of you that has to do it all, figure it out, focus, put actions, step into lots of action, make things happen, things like that. And this is telling me that, something's changing with that. You might not be approaching your dreams the same way. It might not be all focus and action and, figuring it all out and, putting in a lot of effort to make your dreams happen. You might be approaching it in a new way. I'm going to keep pulling some cards to see what else we can get. I'm going to pull some cards to see what your new identity might be, the new version of you. And we get Giraffe Spirit, which says, see the big picture. And we also get Cat Spirit, claim your independence. So immediately I pick up the feminine energy in this Cat Spirit. I feel like there's more of a feminine identity that's kind of coming forth, or just a new version of yourself that embodies more of those feminine qualities. Not necessarily in your image, but more so in your energy. So where you have more of this flow is a great example, versus focus and effort and details and, direction. I see more of like a flow energy coming through. I see more of a curiosity and a discovery and explorative nature coming through, where it's not about just figuring everything out and then doing something about it. It's kind of about, discovering and being creative and being curious and kind of letting yourself stumble upon your way of making your dream happen, or your potential or your desire happen. And it's interesting that this card says, claim your independence, because the image I was seeing in this card was like, not really independent. It felt like dominance, like some kind of energy dynamic going on in your space, or identity in your space that was dominating kind of the feminine energy in your space, or a feminine version of you. And so in this card, I sense more of this breaking free energy, where the feminine is not controlled or dominated, but just kind of in her own space to be her. And again, I'm talking about energy dynamics. I'm not necessarily talking about gender. So for those of you that are non-binary or fluid, you can think about this energetically and the qualities of masculine and feminine energy and the blends between those two, but not necessarily gender. I'm not talking about actual gender right now. I'm talking about kind of the qualities of feminine energy. Diffuse awareness, flow, intuition. Like that masculine energy is very intellectual, trying to figure it out, adding a lot of kind of action and effort and direction to a lot of action. This energy is a lot more intuitive. It's more curious. It's more in flow. And it's very independent and it's very sovereign. So you might be letting go of some type of codependency and allowing more of those feminine qualities of energy, expression to come through you. And then here in this giraffe spirit, see the big picture. I see that image of like a blank canvas, and then behind it is this beautiful landscape that you want to paint. And it's like you see the big picture behind you. You know exactly what you want to create. And that helps you to start taking action and start creating what you want to create, because you can see all of it. Just like a painter painting a landscape. It's all there in front of the painter. You can see the entire landscape, knows exactly what to put on the canvas, just needs to put it on the canvas. So I see the new version of you is going to have a big perspective, kind of know exactly what you want to create. Might be coming into a lot more clarity, or just see the big picture. And that's going to help you get started. That's going to help you actually apply it and create it. I'm going to pull another card from this deck, Wisdom of the Oracle. See if we can get any more wisdom about February 2022. All right, and we get Yin. I mean, to me, there's yin and yang is more action-oriented, and yin is more non-action. It's a little bit more. It's like yin yoga. You just sit in positions, like restful positions. Just you sit there and you stretch and you just relax while your muscle stretches very deeply in a position. You're not applying any force. You're not, you're supporting yourself in those positions so you can fully relax your body while you're allowing certain muscles to stretch. And that's kind of like an example of that yin and energy. You're not forcing anything. You're not taking a lot of action. You're just supporting yourself. And allowing what is naturally ready to grow. So it reminds me of like, if you have a really big dream, you might have so many things you need to do for that dream. But let's just say all you're ready to do is just create a one-page website. And maybe eventually you'll need multiple pages on a website, or eventually you'll need to create all kinds of, online tools for people to work with you. But maybe you're just ready to grow and build a website. That's just an example of, you can have a very big dream or a very big perspective of what you want to create in your life. But there's specific things in your energy that are ready to stretch and expand. And that's where your flow is. And that's where you want to lean into that growth. Be like, okay, this is exactly what I'm ready for, this type of growth. And so I'm going to embody that type of growth because it's going to help me with this dream or this purpose or this mission or this desire to create something. So yin is a very feminine energy. And this is kind of the wisdom coming through around these new identities. You know, it's possible that the way you've been approaching things is no longer serving you, and you're starting to grow into a new version of you or a new identity of you that's going to really serve you in the next phase of what you're creating in your life. I'm going to go ahead and pull one last card for any additional information. Okay. Oh, another card that says higher perspective. Interesting, because you get this giraffe card that says, you know, see the big picture. So there's this emphasis on your perspective. And perhaps this version of you that is being birthed or being, birthed in February has a higher perspective, has the big perspective, has the bird's eye view, kind of knows exactly where you're headed. Yeah, I see the energy of a map in here. It's kind of like you have a road map of where you're going, where you are and where you're going. So this is another kind of card that confirms that this kind of new version of you is going to be more clear and able to see like where you are now and where you're going. And the other card that came out was Reclaim, another kitty card. Can you believe that? It says Reclaim, and it's a freaking kitty with a crown on it. And when I pulled a card for your new identity or version of you that's being birthed, freaking cat came out. There's a lot of this feminine energy coming forth. I really feel that. A lot of mystery and magic and feminine and intuition. All that's like coming to the forefront to be presented, to present yourself that way. It's a new version of you, and it's realigning a lot of things in your life. I mean, it completely changes how you navigate your dream. You know, and I get an image of like, you know, a Jeep, and then right next to it is like a Ferrari or like a sports vehicle. It's more sleek. It's more, it's fast. You know, the Jeep was kind of like this, you know, rough, tough, resilient energy, you know, and you're like changing into more of a sleek, efficient, streamlined, fast energy. And, you know, I'm kind of getting this wisdom coming through that, you know, you might be so used to going through hard times, just like a Jeep. You know, a Jeep is made for rough terrain. It can go on four-wheel drive vehicles. It's lifted. It can crawl on rocks and potholes and, you know, all kinds of things. And like, yeah, that's a version of you, but this new version of you, it doesn't need to do that. It lives in a different environment. The environment doesn't require you to be resilient and rough and strong. It requires you to be a streamlined, efficient, intuitive, You don't need to spend so much energy protecting yourself and just surviving and making it through and going through the rough terrain of your life. Now you're giving more energy to kind of how fast you go and how efficient you can be. And it's okay if you're not kind of approaching life in this rough and rugged way, this protective and thick way. It's okay to be a little bit more streamlined and vulnerable. And the fact that this card says reclaim on it, makes me think that this has always been there for you. But it's just been a long time since you've let it come to the forefront in your energy. But now is the time to let it come to the forefront in your energy and let it kind of direct and navigate your life again. So this makes sense because I was seeing, for mass consciousness, like this feminine empowerment kind of energy, a deep self-love for the feminine and a deep commitment to the feminine and kind of like an empowering feeling for the feminine energy in mass consciousness. So I'm curious if all the embodied enlightenment that you're going through around your own feminine energy is really impacting the rest of the planet, allowing them to commit more to their feminine side, to allow their feminine side to show up too. So it's interesting. All right. Well, that is my little check-in for the energy in February 2022. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. And I'll see you again next month. Take care. Bye.